Hi, it's Friday and I'm back with another double feature, and this week I'm talking about two films by the Dutch director Paul Verhoeven. Those films are Spetters and the infamous Showgirls. Alright, so right off the bat, I'm just gonna say I'm not the biggest fan of Showgirls. I know it has sort of a cult following and I get why. There are fun things about it that I understand could lead to it being, sort of this cult classic, but especially compared to Spetters, I don't love Showgirls, so if you're here to hear me talk about that film, I don't think I'm going to talk about it that much, but I mean, who knows. So Spetters was released in 1980. The only really notable star in this film is Rutger Hauer. It's more of an ensemble cast with a lot of Dutch actors. I also feel like these two movies actually did feel related to me. I feel like it's almost like Showgirls could be the spiritual sequel to Spetters. Showgirls to me feels also like this is what happens when Paul Verhoeven makes a Hollywood film. I don't understand the character arc for Nomi, the lead character played by Elizabeth Berkley. I don't know if this was just a choice of the actor or if it was direction, but I don't understand how other people in the film, other actors, could do a scene with her when she has all these extreme reactions to everything. It's like they're all operating in the real world and she's operating in some alternate world where, people go from being happy to sad, turn on a dime, start screaming and freaking out, stomping out, basically throwing temper tantrums. And yeah, it's just, that movie is so bizarre to me. Her performance is great, don't get me wrong, but it feels so out of place. I wish there were other people who are kind of, in this alternate reality of overreacting to everything. Let's get back to Spetters. It's an ensemble cast. It's like this group of teens or young adults. We're just sort of following them. They all feel like non-actors, and it does have a really natural feel to it. You're following this group of, they're hanging out and having fun and pretending to have sex with each other, and then they sort of meet this girl who comes into town with her brother. They run the Happy Hoek, the snack house, like a food truck essentially. She's looking for a better life for herself, and so she basically she sleeps with a cop so that they don't get a ticket for parking illegally in a good spot for their fry truck to be set up. She sleeps with a TV producer or newscaster type person so this boy, Reen, can get a sponsorship for his dirt biking career. And then in turn, she gets a fur coat from him because he likes her. All the boys in this friend group kind of fall in love with her and they're all trying to sleep with her. And this movie has possibly the most male nudity I've seen in just a regular film. Lots of male full frontal nudity, which I think in comparison to Showgirls, it just kind of goes to show maybe it's a more European sensibility, or maybe it's also Hollywood kind of ruining things and making them exploitative. But the nudity in Spetters it's very equal in terms of men and women. Actually, I think you see more male genitalia than female, and feels natural and not at all exploitative. It feels like it's part of these people, like this is just how these people would act. Showgirls is set in Las Vegas and at a strip club. Showgirls had this, like, the nudity feels so different and kind of gross and kind of like these women are just being exploited, unfortunately. And maybe that's just, closed-minded of me, but it feels like the female sort of lead in Spetters who's sleeping her way to a better life situation, it doesn't feel like she's at all the victim. It feels very empowering. Like she just knows that you know, there might be a different way out, but this is what works for her. She just seems like such a badass hustler. I really liked that character, and I liked seeing that portrayal of, you know, using your femininity, I guess, to your advantage. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But then in Showgirls, it doesn't have that same vibe. It feels more gross, and I don't even know, maybe it's just my personal bias kind of against the movie. I'm not even against Showgirls. I think it's a fun film, but I never feel like Nomi feels very empowered or in control of what's going on. And maybe it's just that her character in and of itself is kind of out of control, but it just has a different vibe. So Spetters also, it is, I think, and I haven't like looked into this at all, but I get the sense that it is a controversial movie because there is some homosexuality in this film. And to be completely honest, to me, well, there's a rape scene, which is obviously very uncomfortable and terrible to watch, but and some of it feels sort of out of place because this man is raped by a group of men. And I think part of it is because he's been attacking gay men. And I think part of that is that he's maybe in denial, or he's just confused. And he kind of starts targeting and bullying gay people. There is actually a different bullying. There's some bullying in this movie that is an issue, but I feel like it's not about that. It's about these people, following these people living their lives, and it sucks that they're doing these things, but I don't think we're necessarily supposed to like these people. You know, I think we're supposed to feel something for them, but I don't think any of them are really sympathetic characters. But it's just doing a really good job of portraying people at this time in their lives where maybe they are making bad judgment calls, but part of it is maybe your pressure from your friends, or you feel pressure to be successful and you don't really know how to go about some of these things. And to be honest, Spetters, I don't even really know what genre this movie fits into. It is kind of half exploitation. It's sort of living in this weird realm between exploitation and drama. And the way this film ends is so... it's really heartbreaking. And you can just sort of like feel the pain for some of the characters in the moment. Like, fuck. Obviously, it affected me. It is a really good film, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I even really like Paul Verhoeven as a director, filmmaker. I find his work to be, his films are very challenging, and I think in a way that sometimes, but they are entertaining as well. So I do appreciate the fact that he kind of pushes you out of your comfort zone and it's like a lot of times it's just things I don't want to be seeing. I don't want to be seeing a young guy getting gang raped by a group of men in a tunnel. I don't, and same within Showgirls. Nomi's best friend and roommate gets raped by her like music hero or whoever the celebrity person is that comes to town, and him and his bodyguards gang rape her in a very similar way to the gang rape in Spetters. And it's really interesting to sort of watch these two films back to back because you have Spetters that feels more exploitative. It's definitely grittier and dirtier. It's also filmed in Rotterdam. I don't know if I already said that, but so it definitely has this European feel to it, whereas Showgirls is Las Vegas. I don't think that any of the cast of Showgirls, other than Gina Gershon and Kyle MacLachlan, there's not, like, it's not a huge name cast. Oh my god, my hair looks crazy. So, but I do feel like it's like kind of following these two women. Definitely Showgirls is less of an ensemble cast. The thing that I don't like about Showgirls is, so you have Nomi who comes to who hitchhikes to Las Vegas to become a dancer, and you find out when she's there that she's either her parents left, they were abusive or they died or something, I don't remember. She wasn't living with her parents, and she was kind of had to become a prostitute to sort of make it on her own. and her dream was always to become this dancer. So she finally made it to Las Vegas, and she starts dancing as a stripper at the Cheetah Club or something. And then while she's there, she's also going on auditions, and Gina Gershon becomes very interested in her and is even maybe sexually attracted to her. I feel like there were some, it's like, in contrast to Spetters, you know, where they had this gay character and they sort of maybe explored it in a way that people don't like. I think that's part of the controversy about that film. But then you have Showgirls that have a couple characters that I think are quite clearly supposed to be gay. Gina Gershon, and I felt like the roommate also, there were some like moments of sexual tension between her and Nomi. None of that's even explored really that far. It's not openly talked about in the film, which that's totally fine, but it just seems a little strange in a newer film that should be seen as more progressive. It just felt like it was the studio just giving notes, and feels to me like Showgirls was noted to death, and that's why we ended up with the Showgirls we have. Probably Spetters had little to no studio involvement, and Paul Verhoeven was allowed to do what he wants. I mean, this is all conjecture. This is me making up a whole story in my head because I apparently love Spetters, and it moved me emotionally, and Showgirls didn't. But yeah, so you have Nomi coming to town. She makes it. She pushes Gina Gershon down the stairs, and she's the star. She's the lead of this show. And the next day, she just leaves town. So I don't really understand kind of what her motivations were or what her actual angle was. Is she just trying to keep getting something better? So she got to what she wanted, and now she's like, oh, I want to go to LA and be a movie star. It seemed like dancing was her passion and the only thing she ever cared about. So it's a little bit, there's some unanswered questions, and not in the way that I usually like. There's also just not a lot of heart to that movie. Maybe it's just sort of the tone of it that makes it hard to become emotionally attached to any of the characters, but it's fine. But if you want to be a crying mess, maybe watch Spetters. What else can I say about these films? I would say watch both films. I don't know, do you like Showgirls? I'm not trying to be mean about it because I think it has its value and it has its place in our pop culture. There's some really fun lines in it. Kyle MacLachlan, I really enjoyed his performance in that film. I thought he was great, and Gina Gershon is really wonderful as well. Also, the pace is really good and quick. It's moving along so fast, and I do like that there are some sort of visual timeline markers. So when she gets there, it's Halloween. You can see there's decorations and kids in costumes or something like that. And then a couple scenes later, there's Christmas decorations and Christmas trees, and you can tell it's Christmas. And I like sort of those little visual timestamps or whatever. It makes it a bit more fun. Otherwise, you might think this movie happened in 2 days because the pace is just so quick. And literally everyone's always running everywhere. It's crazy. Maybe there were a lot of drugs on the set of Showgirls, which I think could be a possibility. Do you like it? What do you like about it? Please feel free to give me your opinion in the comments. And have you seen Spetters? Will you watch it now that I cried about it? It's a really wonderful film. But I think that's it for me for this week. Bye for now.